So what is a Docker file? A Docker file is a text file that contains the instruction which we use to build and run the Docker image. So basically this is a file which will be named as Docker file, and we write the instructions inside the Docker file. This Docker file, whatever instruction it has, it is going to build the image. So inside this Docker file, we start with the base image or parent image. So this will be the first layer what we are going to use. Then we add the instructions for the other layers. For each layer, we should have the instructions inside the Docker file. Command to update the base operating system and install additional software. It can be another layer. Build artifacts to include. It can be having runtime in this layer, and we have the application code. We can also have the instructions for the services such as network, services such as storage, for mounting the volumes, and for network we can expose the port, and also we can have instructions to run specific command when the container starts, such as it can run specific scripts, it can run ping commands, it can run any other commands when the container is started. We have one example of the Docker file. Let us look into each of the instructions, what it contains. This is the first instruction, what it contains. It contains from instruction, which is telling that it needs Ubuntu 18.04 version. So this is the first instruction inside the Docker file. And this is the second instruction to update the operating system package and install additional softwares. And these are the package management commands which are run. In step 3, there is an instruction to configure the Nginx environment, and there is a command to start the Nginx. There is an instruction to copy the files to the container file system. In step 5, we can see to change the working directory to /app. This is simply like cd/app. And in step 6, we can see the instruction is to copy some files .website. In step 7, we can see the network port is exposed. So this is the local port and this is the container port. We are using container port of 8080 to map to host port of 80. In step 8, we can see this command to run when the container is started. Now you might be wondering how to manage these Docker images. We now know we need to create Docker file. So this Docker file has all the instructions to create the image. So this image is the package which contains all the necessary libraries, binaries, application code, dependencies, config file. Everything is packaged into this particular image, using which we will be able to run our application using the containers. So this image in turn is the application which is running inside the container. So we have the Docker file, but how do we turn this particular Docker file into an image? How do we build this Docker file into an image? We have the command to build the image using the Docker file, which is called as docker build command. So using docker build with the instructions, whatever we have updated in the Docker file, we are going to build the image. In this example, we are going to build a temporary image of Ubuntu. This is the temp Ubuntu name for the image. So this is the name of the image, and the dot, whatever you are seeing, this is the current directory where our Docker file is located. So this Docker file has all the instructions. So this Docker file has all the instructions to build the image. Once the image is built, this is immutable. You will not be able to change or modify the image. Now you have already built the image using this Docker file. Let us say you wanted to run Python application which uses 2.7 version. You have already created the image for the Python application with this image with all the dependencies and all the required config files. Everything has been instructed in this Docker file. Let us say now you wanted to change the application to Python 3.x. You will not be able to update the existing image. The existing image, whatever you have built using this Docker file, you will not be able to modify or update this with Python 3.x. This image, whatever you have built using 2.7 version, this is immutable version. You will not be able to modify or change the image. All you need to do is you need to update the Docker file again with new instruction for Python 3.x, and you need to create new image with Python 3.x. Then you will be able to run your containers which has your application inside the containers which uses Python 3.x. This application is 2.7. So we have an example. Once we run the build command, let us see how the instructions are sent via the client and what the Docker server is doing. So once the instructions are sent via the Docker client, we can see this is the first command which is being processed, which takes Ubuntu as the parent image with 18.0.4 version. Then it is running the instruction to update the operating system package and any other packages, whatever we wanted to update. And then it is updating the cache. It is building the layer. So here we have the .NET SDK which is being installed. So apt install. So basically apt install. So this is the command which is on Linux. So this is for Debian or Ubuntu flavors. If it is Red Hat, Fedora or CentOS, then you will be using yum commands to install any packages. And we have the copy instructions which is being processed. So whatever the instructions which are being processed using the build command, everything will be listed here. And this is the step 5 which is being processed here. It is going to change the working directory to /app, and then there is step 6/8. Out of 8 steps, this is the 6th step which is being processed, and we have step 7 of 8 which is going to expose the local port with the container port. In the step 8, we see there is a command which will be run once the container is started. So this is the command which will be run after the container is started. We have successfully built the image, and this is the image name with the tag as latest. Since we have not specified any tag to this image, latest will be appended. So what is an image tag? An image tag is a text string that is used to version an image. If I wanted to tag my image with an version, let us say my image is my image, and I wanted to tag this particular image as v1 version, and I will build another image with v2 version. I can simply go on building the images with these version types, right? So for that, I need to use the flag t to tag my image with my image name. So my image name is my image. If I want to tag the image, I will simply specify v1, v2 or v3. If I don't specify the tag here, then it will take as latest. How to list the images? The images whatever we have built and whatever we have pulled using the Docker Hub. So we know that there is a central repository which is called as Docker Hub, which stores all the images, which is public images. These images can be Ubuntu image, Nginx image, BusyBox, Alpine image, or Hello World. So these are the images which are there in the central repository. When we install the Docker automatically configure the local image registry in our host machine. So we have our host machine. So this is my host operating system. When we install the Docker, it will automatically create the local image registry, and this image registry will be used to store all the images which we have pulled from the Docker Hub or the images what we have created using the build command. So when we use the build command to create the images, all the images will be stored inside the local image registry. And how do we list these images which are there in the local image registry? We use the command docker images. So this command is going to list the images which are there in the local image registry. This is also called as local cache. And we have the repository, and this is the name of the image. This is the name of the image. This has the same name, and we see for the same image name we have different tag. So this is because when we used docker build command, we specified -t to have the tag for the image what we are going to create, temp Ubuntu, and we have made the version. So this version is 1.0. So this is the reason why we see the tag here. And latest is because for this image, when we created, we did not use this version. So basically we did not use this tag here. So this tag. For all the images what we have created, we can see there is an image ID and when it was created and what is the size of the image. And we have the image for Ubuntu here, and this is the tag. So this is pulled from the Docker Hub. And we have the image ID and when it was pulled and what is the size of the Ubuntu. So everything will be listed when we use the command docker images. If I wanted to remove an image from the local registry, I'll be able to use this command docker RMI, which is remove the image, and this is my image name with the tag. Once I have issued this command, the image will be removed. I'll not be able to remove an image if the container is running. So if this image is hosting multiple containers or even one containers, I'll not be able to delete this image. So this is how Docker image works. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content, please subscribe and share the video. Thank you and take care.